All right, so we're back here with another video today. In this video, what I have here is going to be four new Banadir fragrances that were recently sent to me. So these are part of, I want to say it's like maybe 7 or 8 new fragrances that Banadir has added. I did actually add like the full list on the like community tab within the actual page here. So definitely check that out. Like I said, the full list is there. And I have four of the ones that he just recently, kind of released. And man, what I'll say is these are probably four of like some of the best ones, that he's done so far. Like it definitely seems like as he's starting to, release more and more fragrances, these are really, really starting to get better. So definitely shout out to Salim at Banadir Fragrance, man, because he's doing a really good job with these fragrances, especially considering the price that you get these for. One other thing that I want to address, because it seems like, I don't know, some people think that maybe that I'm being paid by Banadir Fragrance to promote their products, or like there's some sort of like underhanded stuff going on. Um, I promote these products because I actually do really enjoy most of the ones that I've, either bought or received. So there's like no funny business going on or anything like that. I'm not being paid by Banadir to do these videos at all. And I mean, really, when I look at probably like my analytics when it comes to most of my videos, these Banadir fragrance videos so far, they really don't do as good as maybe some of like more of the top 10 videos or anything like that. I do these videos purely because these have been some of the best interpretations that I've smelled from any sort of interpretation house, whether it be like the Middle Eastern ones like French Avenue or Latafa, or even houses like Alexandria or Yamaleo or Alt and stuff like that. Banadir, for them to be like a company that's kind of getting newly into this particular game, they really, in my opinion, in a lot of cases, have some of the best interpretations, man. So, again, this is just me sharing this with you all, so that you all can get some of the highest quality interpretations for what I would consider steals, when it comes to the price. So, just wanted to throw that out there. Don't want to ramble too much about that, but yeah, I'm not being paid by Banadir to do these videos at all. All right, so I want to start off here with the new fragrances. So it's number 40. This one is their interpretation of Ex Nihilo's Blue Talisman. Then you have number 41. So number 41, this is Creed Centaurus, their take on Centaurus. Number 42 is, I believe, their take on MFK's Gentle Fluidity Silver. And then number 46 is their take on MFK's Oud Satin Mood. So these, like I said, all four of these actually really impressed me a lot. I'll start with the one that really impressed me the most, though, and to me, that was definitely number 40, which is the Blue Talisman interpretation. When I say that this is easily, hands down, the best Blue Talisman interpretation that I've smelled, like it's not even close. Now, obviously, I haven't smelled like every single Blue Talisman interpretation out there, but I would say, prior to smelling this, the Mason Azrar Legacy would be the best one that I would, recommend to anyone, based on what I had smelled. This blows Mason Azrar's Legacy out of the water for sure. Um, this smells like as close to identical to Blue Talisman as I think that you possibly can. Like seriously. And it wasn't even like this was because with a lot of these Banadir fragrances, like when you first spray them on and then like you kind of compare them side by side with the initial opening blast of a lot of different fragrances, a lot of the times the Banadir fragrance will kind of smell slightly different for like the first few minutes. Like it's normally anywhere from as little of maybe about 3 minutes or so upwards to like around maybe that 10-minute mark. This smells identical to Blue Talisman from the initial spray. All right. Um, the biggest thing that I mentioned, like with the Mason Azrar version compared to Blue Talisman, was to me the Mason Azrar did not have like that same sort of like three-dimensional, like kind of ethereal sort of like I don't know, kind of like a cloud sort of feeling that you get when you wear something like Blue Talisman. It just didn't have it. Like it smelled like it was a more kind of like affordable interpretation of Blue Talisman. You know, despite it being actually pretty close. This to me does not have any of the sort of like differences that you would, expect with other sort of Blue Talisman interpretations. All right. This definitely has that same sort of like, again, sort of three-dimensional ethereal cloud type of feeling that you get. The pear in this smells basically exactly the same as what you get with the ex nihilo in the initial opening. I would say really the only difference that I got from the number 40 compared to the ex nihilo was, and I only kind of noticed this like once the fragrance started to like dry down. Number 40 to me is, you could say, maybe like 3 to 5% less sweet than what Blue Talisman is. The difference is so minute, I would say that it's definitely not something that anybody would be able to tell in the air. Like nobody would be able to tell that you're not wearing Blue Talisman with number 40. It's only something that you can tell when you smell the two like up close, side by side, and you're going back and forth and you're looking for any sort of difference that you can pick out. But I think, probably to any sort of average nose that more than likely has probably never smelled this scent. I think if you like sprayed this on your left hand and then sprayed this on your right, and then you said, okay, tell me, is one of these fragrances different from the other, or are they both the same? I think I feel like most people would say it's the same fragrance. I don't think they would be able to tell the difference, to be honest with you. So yeah, man, this one is that close for sure. And you're getting basically Blue Talisman, 100 mLs of Blue Talisman for the most part. You're getting that in number 40 for like $40 to $45. All right. I mean, I'm gonna keep this bottle. I was able to, pick up like a partial bottle from a guy who like basically decants and then he sells off normally 30 to 20 mLs of the bottle after he's decanted it out. So I was able to get this bottle at a pretty good deal. But once I go through this, I don't really feel like there's any need for me to go out and, spend like the $300+ on a full bottle of this when I can get this. And I mean, it literally smells, I would say at least about probably like 99% close. Like I'm not over exaggerating. I'm not glazing this fragrance, and like this is my true opinion of this. This was definitely the most impressive one in my opinion, out of this whole list for sure, man. So if you're looking for a Blue Talisman interpretation and you're looking for the absolute best one and something that you're not going to have to spend $100+ for, which, I mean, let's be honest, even some of the times when you have like these fragrance companies that charge over $100+ for, interpretations of other fragrances, even at that point, sometimes they're still not like 99% close. Like they normally still have some sort of twist or difference. This is definitely it, man, for sure. So I would say definitely pick this one up, man. If you haven't, and definitely pick it up before, word gets out and, he gets sold out of it. But this one is for sure legit, man. I definitely would, put my name on this one or put my name behind it or whatnot in terms of, how close it is. This is definitely that close. All right. So that is number 40. The next one, number 41, this is the Centaurus interpretation. So, obviously, I have this, I have the Rayhan Crimson, and then I've had, even though it's not technically like a interpretation, I guess you could say, of Centaurus, but it smelled pretty close, the French Avenue Aromatics Royal Taboo. So the Rayhan Crimson, to me, I would say overall is probably going to be still the closer fragrance to the original Creed Centaurus. Um, this though, this is going to be a more like louder, more amplified version of Centaurus. So like when you first spray this on, I would say the difference is absolutely noticeable in terms of like how much more like cinnamon you get from this fragrance compared to like the original or even the Rayhan Crimson. There's way more cinnamon in the Banadir to me. Way more cinnamon, and I would say definitely more woods. This to me has like the same level of woods that like Royal Taboo had. So that was like the biggest difference that I really noticed with Royal Taboo was like that seemed to be a lot woodier than what Centaurus was. This seems to be like more so along the lines of that. Um, and like I said, the cinnamon and like the spices that you get in the opening of Centaurus are definitely louder and more prominent in number 41 for sure. And then, just in terms of like how this fragrance sort of behaves throughout the entire life of the fragrance, this is definitely going to be, the much more louder, more beast mode, projecting or performing fragrance for sure over, again, the Rayhan or even the Creed. So really, I think it just kind of depends on what you're into and what you may or may not like. If you're into fragrances that are a little bit more kind of subtle and refined, then I would say probably go for either the original Creed, if you can find it at a decent discounted price, or, if you're looking for something within that sort of like $40 to $50 range, then, maybe go for the Rayhan instead. Because this is going to be a little bit more subtle. It's not as sort of beast mode as what this is. But if you're one of those people who like performance is what matters the most for you, and you want like the loudest, longest lasting fragrance, then I would say that number 41 is actually going to be pretty good for you. Because like I said, this does project way louder than what the original Creed does or even the Rayhan. And it definitely, it lasts like forever. This is well past like 12, 14 plus hours on me. And it's pretty prominent even once you get into those like later hours, like well past 8 to 10 hours. You could definitely still smell this on you. What I'll say is the heliotrope in this fragrance, that sort of like sweet floral aspect that you get from Centaurus, that is definitely, in my opinion, more so closer to what you get in Centaurus. Whereas I felt like the heliotrope in this was a little bit more like prominent. All right. So, just again, it depends on what you like. But this is still a very solid interpretation. I would say closeness wise, I would give this probably like around a 80 to 85% close rating to Centaurus. Because I mean, it is still very close, but it's just, again, it's more of an intense, more amplified version of Centaurus to me. Whereas I would say the Rayhan is more closer to like 90% for the most part. All right. So, yeah, man, this one, number 41, really, really solid interpretation of Centaurus. Like I said, just super beast mode. All right. The next one, number 42, the Gentle Fluidity Silver interpretation. I need to get another sample of Gentle Fluidity Silver because I definitely ran out of the one that I had before, comparing that to like the Varrock Silver from Fragrance World. But I'll just say right off the bat, this is way better than Varrock Silver. Varrock Silver was definitely more of just like, it was a lot more heavier on like the woody aspects of Gentle Fluidity Silver. This definitely does the juniper berries way better, in this fragrance. They're a lot more crisp. They're more sweeter, than what they were in the Varrock Silver for sure. I just can't remember, exactly how close this comes to the original Gentle Fluidity Silver. So I have to again get another sample of that and then, do like a side by side comparison. But so far, based on what I've smelled from Fragrance World, and then even like the Alexandria version of Fluidity Silver, this is definitely the best one for sure. This smelled like the most high quality. It has like this sort of like fresh, sparkly feeling that I remember getting from Gentle Fluidity Silver that I haven't gotten from any other interpretation. So this definitely smells like it more than likely is very, very close to the original scent. And yeah, man, this is really, really good, I would say for sure. Definitely the best one that I've smelled so far. Um, the Everything is just balanced in this. Like, you obviously you start off with like those really sort of like sweet, crisp juniper berries. Um, Kind of has almost sort of like a gin sort of smell to it in the initial opening. Um, and then as it dries down, like it becomes kind of like sort of woody and almost dry, I guess you could say. But it doesn't again become as woody as what you would get with something like Varrock Silver from Fragrance World. And it just overall it smells very kind of like fresh, bright, uplifting, clean. Definitely I would say perfect really for any time of the year. Like in my opinion, Gentle Fluidity Silver is definitely an all year round type of fragrance. I think probably though the best time that this is suited for is more than likely like spring for the most part. But this is definitely a all year round fragrance in my opinion. All right. So yeah, man. I won't be giving this one like a closeness rating in this video so far because again, I still need to like really do a side by side with this. But in terms of what I remembered from Gentle Fluidity Silver, this smells very close and very high quality. All right, so that one is number 42, and then number 46. So this is the Oud Satin Mood fragrance. This one was also very good as well. Now, what I will say is this to me, compared to Oud Satin Mood, it seems a little bit more kind of citrusier. Oud Satin Mood to me seemed to be a little bit thicker in the texture. So it smelled a little bit more kind of like, richer overall. Um, and I guess you could say more of sort of like almost kind of like a velvety sort of, smell to it, like a little bit more of a velvety type of smoothness to it. But yeah, man, I would say this is still a very solid interpretation. It's definitely as strong, I would say for sure, as what Oud Satin Mood is. Like when you first spray on Oud Satin Mood, at least the few times that I wore it, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be like a super beast mode scent, but that fragrance is like extremely strong. It really is. And it definitely it starts to become like if you spray too much, like later on in those like later hours, it starts to become kind of cloying, I would say, if you spray too much of it on. But this to me, I would say the best way for me to kind of describe it is like a basically like a fresh kind of like rose oud, type of fragrance for the most part. So the rose in this, I would say, in the scent profile in general, is kind of like a watery type of rose to me. I think I've seen some people kind of refer to it as a jammy rose. To me, I don't know. I just feel like I more so kind of get like a slightly more sort of watery rose from this scent profile, at least the way it wears on my skin. And I would say definitely more so, that's what you get from the Banadir number 46. It does to me come across a little bit more watery, than what the original does. And so, again, it comes across slightly more fresher, just slightly though. Maybe at the best, like maybe 10% more fresher and more kind of watery than what the original Oud Satin Mood does. But it still has a pretty nice sweetness to it. I would say it's not like a sweetness to where it's like feminine or anything like that. Like this to me is still definitely a unisex scent for sure. I just think, probably for some men it'll just kind of depend, especially if they're not really used to wearing like rose fragrances. But yeah, man, this is definitely to me like a unisex style fragrance. And as it starts to dry down, it definitely becomes more kind of like, I guess you could say more floral is what I get from it. Almost sort of like slightly powdery in the far dry down or whatnot. But it's still to me a very kind of unisex, niche style scent like rose oud. Like I said, a sort of velvety type of smoothness that you get in the background with it. And it's to me like I would say a 3 season sort of fragrance. Like I definitely wouldn't reach for this in the summertime. This would be way too much because it's super strong. But fall, winter, spring, absolutely, I would say is when you would want to reach for this. The performance, like I said, super beast mode. This is going to be on you pretty much until you wash it off, just like the original. I would just say though that the original Oud Satin Mood is going to be slightly more kind of denser smelling than what this is. This, like I said, is a little bit more kind of lighter and airier, but it still, like I said, projects like a beast. So, I mean, I'm talking like well past the arm's length for like the first 3, 4 hours. And then again, longevity wise, this is going to be on you until you wash it off. Closeness on this, I would say the closeness is more so kind of like around 85% on this fragrance. All right. So really, really solid. Smells super high quality. I haven't really smelled too many other Oud Satin Mood interpretations. As a matter of fact, I think this is probably my first one. So I really can't say whether or not like this is the best one per se, because I really haven't smelled any other ones. But again, this does smell super high quality. And I did enjoy wearing this one a lot. All right. So overall rating I would give on this easily, I would say probably like about a 8 out of 10. Like it's a pretty solid fragrance for sure, man. So definitely check out number 46, man, as well as number 42, 41, and 40. Also, I would say definitely check out their website to see the other interpretations that they've recently put out. I just recently did a video on their version of Tuxedo, which I actually thought was really, really good, man. So definitely check that one out as well. I'll have links in the description to where you can pick all of these fragrances up. And if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you on the next video.